Good evening and welcome to the Boss FM Town Hall. I am Jaleesa and I will be your host for tonight's Town Hall. Our purpose with this Town Hall and the ones to come is to increase voter turnout and overall participation in the presidential election. Now that the president has been elected, we want to encourage you guys to stay informed on local elections and treat those elections just like the presidential election. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat or tag us on Twitter at BossFMDigital or at Black News Alerts, or use our hashtag BossFMTownHall. Now, we will answer any and all questions at the end of the show. So without further ado, let's get started. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have won the presidency. Hallelujah. 161 million people voted in the 2020 presidential election, period, making it the largest voter turnout in American history. About 66.6% of eligible voters voted during this election. Some states had ours biting our nails. We were kind of on the brink with some of these states, waiting for their results. Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, y'all kept us cliffhanging for a while. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris managed to flip Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia from red to blue. Is that iconic? I think so. Election night was on Tuesday, November 3rd. Usually the population is notified of who won the election around 10 or 11 p.m. the same day. But everyone knows due to COVID-19, millions of ballots were sent through mail, causing a delay in results. Even though we were notified it might take a few days or weeks to have every vote counted, Donald Trump falsely claimed victory around 2 a.m. November 4th.
A very important 2020 election. If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late. I've already decisively won many critical states, including massive victories in Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio. To name just a few, we won these and many other victories despite historic election interference from big media, big money, and big tech. As everybody saw, we won by historic numbers. And the pollsters got it knowingly wrong. They got it knowingly wrong. We had polls that were so ridiculous, and everybody knew it at the time. There was no blue wave that they predicted. They thought there was going to be a big blue wave. That was false. It was done for suppression reasons. But instead, there was a big red wave.
That's my response. I just have to laugh. After he said that he won the election, numbers started rolling in and key states began flipping. Soon after, Donald Trump began filing lawsuits demanding a recount and claiming fraudulent activity within the election. Donald filed lawsuits in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and Wisconsin. In each state, there are different laws to place to do a recount. In Nevada, the recount rules state that the candidate can request a recount. Election certification deadline, November 24th. A presidential candidate may ask Nevada Secretary of State for a recount within 3 days of the count, regardless of the margin. Partial recounts are not allowed. The party requesting the recount must pay for it, and the state has 10 days to complete the recount. In Arizona, the recount rules state that if it's fewer than 200 votes or less than a 0.1% margin, the candidates cannot request a recount. Election certification deadline is November 30th instead of the 24th. There are no set deadlines for completion of a recount. Recount proceedings must be counted under the observation of both parties. State law in Michigan provides an automatic recount when the differences between the candidates is less than 2,000 votes. Candidates may also request a recount from Michigan Secretary of State within 48 hours of the count and must allege fraud or mistake in specific jurisdictions. Recounts should be completed within 30 days. In Pennsylvania, there's an automatic for less than 0.5 percentage point difference. Petitioners have to pay for the cost of the recount, but may be refunded if fraud and substantial errors are found. A recount of the November 3rd election would have to be completed by November 24th, just like the other state. In Georgia, the recount rules state that candidates can request a recount. State law does not provide an automatic recount in Georgia, but candidates do have a right to ask for a taxpayer refunded recount if the margin is less than 0.5%. Candidates may also petition the Georgia Secretary of State for a recount by providing specific evidence of alleged errors or discrepancies. Partial recounts are not allowed. Election certification deadline is November 20th. Lastly, in Wisconsin, presidential recounts must be requested from the Wisconsin Elections Commission within 1 day of completion of the initial count and completed within the next 13 days after that. If the margin is less than 0.2, 0.5%, the state will pay the cost. If it is above that threshold, the requester has to pay. The Trump campaign would have to pay these states for the cost of conducting a recount, and it could cost millions of dollars for all of these recounts. I said millions, that's how he says it, millions. Trump went on a rampage on Twitter claiming the election is fraud and that he won by a lot. We are up big, but they're trying to steal the election. We will never let them do it. Voters cannot be cast after the polls are closed. On Saturday, it was announced that Joe and Kamala won the presidency. Again, hallelujah.
We did it. We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
I love that. I love that for them. Joe's immediate action was to Twitter. At Kamala Harris and I weren't wasting any time. We're ready to get COVID-19 under control so that we can reopen our businesses and schools safely, resume our lives, and put this pandemic behind us. The challenge before us right now is still immense and growing, and so is the need for bold action to fight this pandemic. The bottom line, I will spare no effort to turn this pandemic around. I won't be the president until January 20th, but my message today to everyone is this: wear a mask. You know what, Joe? Okay, I'll put on a mask. I'm not going to lie to you. As long as we have 45 out the office, I'm just full Biden and Harris. Whatever Biden says, let's do it. He wants me to put on a mask till January 20th. I'll put on a mask. It ain't nothing. There was a massive amount of tension in the air during this election, as we all know. People were scared about the response from the public. When Joe Biden was announced as the winner of the election, people ran into the streets in all cities like Los Angeles, DC, New York. Everybody celebrated together. Shout out to DC. Whether it was a sing-along or dancing the electric side, let's just look at a couple clips. I love that. I live in Dallas. It wasn't happening like that down here. But shout out to all the cities where it was happening, okay? Moving on. Joe's COVID plan. Shout out to Drake for being in that transition. We love you. As we all know, COVID-19 is the most pressing problem in the United States right now, with 10.4 million reported cases, 241,000 deaths, y'all. Numbers are starting to climb again as winter is around the corner. All eyes are on President-elect Joe Biden, of course, regarding his plan and if it even works. On Monday, Joe Biden put together a COVID-19 task force, which is a group made up of entirely of doctors and health experts. Joe intends to seek a science-based approach to bring the raging pandemic under control. Unlike the Trump administration, who thought we should just live with the deadly virus and adapt to it, Biden's task force will have 3 co-chairs. Vivek Murthy, who was the Surgeon General during the Obama administration, whoop, whoop, shout out to you. David Kessler, the Food and Drug Administration Commissioner under President George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, and Marcia Nunes-Smith, Associate Dean for Health Equity Research at the Yale School of Medicine. Period. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have mentioned that they will move the U.S. COVID-19 pandemic response in a completely different direction. Biden will create a COVID-19 racial and ethnic disparities task force that will become a permanent infectious disease racial disparities task force after the pandemic. The task force will address problems with disparities in the public health system. Melanin, Hispanic, and American Indian communities have significantly higher rates of infections and hospitalization. I wonder why that is. The Biden administration, who stated it will encourage the CDC to take a more active role in providing specific guidance to these communities about when they need to shut down. They will also implement a national worldwide pandemic dashboard that people could gauge themselves for in real time and how much disease is in their zip code. I think that's very smart. I would love to look up my zip code and see how many people have infectious disease. So it's actually really smart. In addition to those measures, Joe and Camilla will also increase testing and contact tracing, period. Additional investments in vaccines and treatments, mandatory masks and more PPE. If y'all don't know what PPE means, it's personal protective equipment. A push for clear, consistent, evidence-based guidance through COVID-19. Immediate restore with the National White House Security Council Directorate for the Global Health Security and Biodefense. Making testing widely available and free testing. Hello, goodbye. Ensuring that everyone who needs a test can get one for free. Establishing at least 10 mobile testing and drive-through facilities per state to speed up testing and protect healthcare workers. They will also provide daily public White House reports on how many tests that have actually been done. They're going to task the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to help establish diagnosis codes for COVID-19 on an emergency basis so that the surveillance can be done during claims data. Surge capacity for protection, response, and treatment. All tasks of relevant federal agencies to take immediate action to ensure that America's hospital and capacity will meet the growing need. Wow. If they came up with that in the last month or two, I mean, imagine what they can come up with within the next 4 years. I'm actually very flattered to hear that my president and my vice president not only want to make sure that I'm safe and clean and healthy, but they're going to make sure I'm doing it for free. Yeah, we love the free word. Love free 99. Moving on. interested in local elections. Even though the presidential election is over, we want you guys to stay informed on these local elections. In 2022, 34 out of the 100 seats of the Senate are up for election. You heard right. In 2022, in 2 years, 34 of the 100 seats in the Senate are up for election. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, shout out to Maryland, Missouri, Nevada, New Hampshire, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, shout out to y'all, Oregon, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, South Dakota, Utah, Vermont, Washington, and Pennsylvania. Shout out to y'all. Y'all get to vote in 2 years. There's 34 seats that are going to be up. Don't count out Congress, though. Every piece of legislation has to get passed by Congress. So if we want to see change in new laws being passed that we, the people, actually support, we have to pay attention to more than just the president election every 4 years. We need to pay attention to the district attorney elections, elections for mayors, elections for the governor. All of these elections can change how things are being ran, not only in your state, but in the whole country. So I just need you guys to make sure that we remember that it's not going to be every 4 years, it's every 2 years. Things are always going on. I always like to Google, hey, is there any elections this year? What's going on? I can vote this person out of office because they're kind of making me mad. It's definitely viable. Definitely. As far as our town hall goes, thank you so much for watching and tuning in tonight. You guys can either follow us on Boss FM or Black News Alerts for social media, everything. We're on there. Remember that your voice does matter. Your vote matters. Presidential or district attorney, Congress or Senate. Your voice, your vote matters. We have the power to create and maintain the change that we want to see in the world. Once again, I am Jaleesa Mariah. Thank you for joining me tonight, and everyone have a good night.